Is it just me, or has the Ultimate Fight Championship become kind of boring lately? Now, I've been a mixed martial arts fan for many years. I started watching the UFC in 1996, and I think UFC 4 was the first UFC I've ever seen, and that was when Royce Gracie was the champ. And then I went back and looked at UFC 3, and I looked at UFC 2, UFC 1. But that was back when they was doing the tournament format, and there was no weight classes. Weren't that many rules. It was just like no eye gouging, no fish hooking, what else? No hair. No, you could, back then you could pull hair too. But there weren't a lot of rules back then. Nowadays, they got rules. You got weight classes, which is good, which makes the sport more safe. But one thing I've noticed is that it's like most of the fighters it's like they're all fighting the exact same way. It's like they're doing 4 basic styles, which is basically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, boxing, and Muay Thai. Now, don't get me wrong, those are good styles to learn, and they are very effective, but there's so many other styles out there that they can be using, and they don't. And, when you see the same 4 styles being used over and over, it's kind of boring. It'd be nice to see somebody, show something a little different. Like, let me give you some examples of fighters that have used some stuff that's just a little bit different, instead of just using the same 4 styles I just mentioned. Like Lyoto Machida. Now, he does know jiu-jitsu, he does know some wrestling, but everybody knows that karate style that he uses, it just throws people way off. It's nice to see karate being used again in mixed martial arts. Then you have Mauricio Shogun Ruha. He knows jiu-jitsu. He knows kickboxing, but I think he also knows capoeira as well. And I've seen him use it before in one of his fights. And then you have Cal Parisian. He's a judo expert, and I just love watching him just taking somebody and just using that judo to like flip a guy on his head and just toss him to the mat. Now, these are examples. Oh, and then you also got George St. Pierre. He's a very good wrestler, but he's also a karate expert too. I forgot what style of karate. I think it's Korinshu karate. I forgot, but those are examples of fighters that, even though they know the 4 main styles that I mentioned earlier, but they also bring something interesting. They bring a little something extra, a different style that you don't really get to see very often. And I used to be a big fan of the Pride Fighting Championships. There was so many different kind of fighters there, but the rules were different, and I kind of wish UFC would become more like Pride and use some of their rules. But unfortunately, Pride is out of business. They don't. I don't know why they went out of business, but now the UFC is the main organization. Personally, if I was running the UFC, I would change some of the rules. I like the yellow card rule that the Pride Fighting Championships had, where if you see a fighter that's just stalling, you give them a yellow card, and they take away like 10% of what they earn, which will motivate the fighters to do better. Because if it's one thing I hate, it's lay and pray. I can't stand a fighter that just lays on the ground and does nothing. If you're gonna take a guy down to the ground, you better be doing some good ground and pounding, or at least attempting some submissions. If you're just gonna stay there, lay there, and run out the clock, then that's crap. The fans deserve better than that. But like I said, though, it'd be nice to see fighters, showing some different styles instead of the Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, and the wrestling. You know, you got submission wrestling, you got capoeira, you got sambo, you got so many different kinds of karate, you know, kung fu. You know, don't just restrict yourself to regular kickboxing. You know, nice to see something different. Oh, and so you got Bruce Lee. He was like one of the first mixed martial artists. You know, he was an expert in Wing Chun. He studied boxing. I think he studied. I think he actually copied Muhammad Ali's footwork. But he studied fencing. You know, he studied boxing a little bit. Like I said, it'd just be nice to see a little something different, you know. I'm sick of this Muay Thai boxing and wrestling crap. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good, and it is good. It's very useful in mixed martial arts, but like I said, there's so many different styles of fighting that these fighters could be using. So tell me what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you think that, you know, it would be nice to see a bigger variety of styles? Or are you happy with the way the UFC is right now? So give me your opinions and tell me what you guys think.